Let's make a cute DIY shrug. One item that I saw popular for the fall of 2022 were these little shrugs. They've come back into fashion. I thought it would look really great with the nightgown that I just created, as I had extra fabric. So the first step to this was I actually drafted out the pattern using some muslin to figure out what pattern pieces I would need. I saw that I was going to need 2 for the front as well as 1 for the back, and then I cut all of this out again to create the lining for it. And then I'm just going to have a small ribbon tie in the front to hold it together. So the first step to all of this was to cut out my pattern pieces. So in total there were 6 pieces, to include 3 for the actual outside portion as well as 3 for the lining. Next, what I did was pinned up each of the sides, so the 2 shoulder seams as well as the 2 seams on either side for both the lining as well as the outer portion of the shrug. Once they were pinned up, I then took a seam for both the lining as well as the front. So now that I had the lining as well as the exterior of the shrug done, it was time to start working on how I was going to be closing these off. So what I'm going to be doing is adding a little piece of ribbon on either side, and I'm just going to use this as a cute little ribbon tie. I'm going to baste it first onto just one of the layers, and then I will be attaching it to the outside as well. So as you can tell, I have it pointed so that I can take a seam, and then when you kind of fold that over, the ribbon will be facing the right way. So now I'm going to attach the lining to the exterior of the shrug and just pin along the sides as well as the top, or like your collar portion of the shrug, and then just take a seam all the way around. So I did end up adding sleeves to it, so this would be 2 more pattern pieces you would need. I just made a very simple sleeve, and I'm just going to sew the edge of the sleeve for either side together so that I'm able to start to attach it to my shrug. So to do this, I just pinned up either side, and then I'm just going to take a straight seam all the way through. So here is what my shrug looks like so far. You can see I have both the outside and the lining are attached. So one step you could do is before you add the sleeve, you could baste this around if you wanted those 2 pieces of fabric to be connected. But what I did was I added my sleeve, so with right sides together, I'm going to pin the sleeve onto the shrug. So I added some pins to my dress form so it'd be a little easier while I did this, and I just pinned it all the way around, and I'm going to now take a seam to attach it very similarly to how I did on the other side. So at this point, the main construction is done for the shrug, as you have sleeves, we have a lining, and we have the exterior. You also have the little ribbon tie, which I think is really cute. So now it's time to start doing the finishing details. So we need to finish off the bottom of the shrug, need to do a top stitch around the collar, and as well as hem the sleeves for either side of the shrug itself. So what I am first going to start with is the hemming of the sleeves. So this was very easy. I just did a rolled hem for each sleeve, going around, taking about, I believe that I did 1 inch, and then I folded up 1 inch again. I was a little smarter working with this fabric, and as you could tell, I did the part that didn't have flowers so that it would be much easier to lay, and then I just took a seam around either side. Next, it was time to use the iron, and what I wanted to do was press this all down before I did the top stitch around the collar. So I have this tool that kind of helps. You can use it to iron fabric that you aren't quite sure on. I wasn't sure if this fabric could be ironed or not. It seemed to be okay when I was using it, but I did have that just in case. And what I did was I just pressed it down carefully so that it would be much easier to pin. So I did this all the way around for both like the little front part of the shrug as well as the collar portion. I'm just going to take a seam so that everything lays nice and flat. So everything is really coming together now. It's starting to look really nice, and now it's just time to worry about the bottom part of the shrug. So you can see the top stitching up there, it's all laying really well. I need to remove that draping tape since we don't need it anymore. But now it's time to start focusing on the bottom part of the shrug. So to do that, what I did was I actually just folded under my fabric for both the lining as well as the outside part of the shrug, and then I pinned it so that I would be able to take a seam all the way across. This did take some time as I wanted to make sure I caught everything, but once I had it, I was able to take a straight seam and everything laid really nicely so that it would work. And here is my completed shrug, so you can see that that straight seam is complete. Everything's done though. This is a standalone piece, so there are no raw edges. You can see the sleeves are done nicely, the back looks nice. So you could really pair this with any type of dress, any tank top, really anything. I'm gonna pair it though with that nightgown, which I'll be sure to link the video in case you wanna see how I made this. It has this really nice flowy pleated effect. I love how it turned out, and there is a second layer underneath, as the fabric I used for the shrug was kind of see-through. It looks really good with this though, helps kind of give it a little bit more coverage if you wanted that, or if you had kind of your shoulders getting chilly. I love though the bottom, it is so flowy and so fun. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.